Yeah, I guess that's up to me. Hello, everybody. My name is Jumpin' Joe Flash. I have been asked to moderate the discussion here today, and I thank very much the folks at All Mike and Edwards Creative Law. Thanks so much, Byron, Jamie, and Kareem. That's wonderful. I'm a host on CKCU 93.1 on the Monday Special Blend, 7 to 9 in the morning. I also occasionally host on Rogers TV, a show called the Ottawa Music Video Showcase, which is exactly what it sounds like. I've also got a band called The Magic Machine, but we're here for the insights of our panelists, my friends, and allow me to introduce them each at once. We can't really clap for one another, but we can make little heart fingers. So that's what I'll say we'll do when it comes time to clap. First up, Amanda Rayom, an award-winning Métis singer-songwriter hailing from Ottawa with a deeply personal and instantly accessible Americana sound. She has long employed her music as a force for good, traveling to Afghanistan to perform for Canadian military personnel, plus visits to the Alert Base in Canada's far north and the Indigenous community of Attawapiskat. Amanda also co-founded Babes for Breasts, an initiative that raised money for breast cancer charities across Canada over a 10-year period. Welcome, Amanda. Welcome. Look, I love all those hearts. We're going to see more and more over the course. All right, next up is Jessie Simmons. Music is more than a hobby. It's a way of life for Jessie. Throughout her musical journey, Jessie has discovered the unique combination of neo-soul styled lyricism and French Caribbean zouk, which ended up providing her with her unique sound, which she has brought to stages in Montreal, Boston, New York City, and Miami, and Haiti. From the very first moment Jessie connected with her audience, she knew she had found her purpose. Welcome, Jessie Simmons. Welcome, hearts. Oh, and clapping too. It's wonderful. All right. And finally, lastly but not leastly, is Laura Simpson, CEO and co-founder of Sidedoor, a Canadian tech startup founded in 2017. The mission is to create shows anytime, anywhere, first with in-person shows like house concerts and such, and now online. Since 2007, she has worked with Music Nova Scotia, the Halifax Jazz Festival, the East Coast Music Awards, Capicoa, and the Halifax Pop Explosion, so everyone. And she has hosted house concerts at the Syrup Factory since 2011. She believes experiencing amazing live art in intimate community settings leads to stronger human connection, greater empathy, and improved mental health. Welcome, Laura. Welcome. So this is a panel discussion called the Livestream Toolkit. As said, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritties and so forth, but rather sort of talk about how different it is from regular routine life, let's say. We've all experienced this at the same time, and we're all kind of going through it at the same time. So let's talk about first, how we all had to change in the face of worldwide isolation. Let's start with you, Amanda. Typically, as a touring artist, you'd be out on the road all summer. You'd be shaking hands, you'd be kissing babies, you'd be doing shows. What was that transition like from shows booked, regular kind of summer thing to nothing?
Yeah, great question. Hi, everyone. I'm here from the unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. So I'm here in Ottawa. Truthfully, as scary as everything was, there was a part of me that really needed like a physical break from moving around so much. And so while it was very unsettling and scary, I think that it hit me much later that things were going to be kind of different for a much longer period than, a couple months, couple weeks. So it's actually been in the last maybe month or so that I've really been kind of, grieving my bank account, but grieving the connection with my band and the audience and all those things that you do get from playing live, down to the small things, showing up and meeting the sound crew and the manager and stuff like that. But I don't know, I'm really, I've done a ton of these online shows and stuff, so I've been really fortunate. And I got to play a drive-in here for the Blues Fest. So I've been really trying to have a wide scope of experiences during this pandemic as far as programming goes. But I'm definitely feeling the burn, more for the future in a kind of existential way still. Like, what does this mean?
Let's move on to you, Jessie, because you've had a YouTube channel where you've vlogged and just created videos for a couple of years, but that's not the same as streaming, is it? Like, you've got some online presence and some experience with, like connecting on the online scene, but how did you use those skills and sort of translate them to new streaming shows, if at all?
I definitely find that being online streaming was a bit challenging because we're used to like the social media presence to like, get attention from our audience. But this time it's like you really had to engage with the audience so that, some people watch your show. So I've done a couple of live stream shows and like different types of I could say scenarios. My first one was by myself, so I just put on my laptop with my guitarist and we were just performing, and we got a lot of engagement. I also, the challenges that I find is also you have to study your audience because you have to know where most of your audience are coming from. My goal was to bring the traffic to my Facebook, but most of my followers are from Instagram. So I had to make like both of them available. So it's like, so everybody can see it. But overall, it was challenging at first, but I am grateful that today's technology still allows us to connect with other people. And we've seen very creative online stream shows. It like also inspires me to add to my own shows as well. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, like, there's like this versus thing going on where two artists just share like their greatest hits, and how like fans can just engage with that as well. So it's really great that despite the hard times, there's still a way that we can all connect with the love of music. So that's my experience so far.
It sounds like both you guys like were able to transition to the online space. Not easily, I won't say, but you've done so over some time. Laura, you work with a lot of artists, and typically you'd be booking sort of these in-person shows. What are you hearing from the artists? Like, when are you seeing a lot of those people that you would typically work with jump at the chance to stream, or are you seeing a lot of artists maybe having a bit more trouble with the transition? What have you seen?
Oh yeah, I mean, it's really heartening to hear Amanda and Jesse speak positively, and I'm sure they went through their own like process of mourning and then getting to this point of being able to do it with positivity. But I feel like it's still quite a bit of a mixed bag. Like, even though we've done over 400 online shows now since March 24th when we started to do them, and we're still having conversations with people about how this feels and if it's okay. And most of the concerns that artists have are around quality, and delivering a good show and ensuring that they basically know how to do it, because it's a different medium, and it's sometimes like, Jesse pulled out that perfect thing of like, you can do it Instagram live, but Facebook live is usually gonna, work better. And so you want to draw people in. And, even before we started, we talked about doing Zoom, but you can also broadcast to Facebook. So like all of these things are learning elements that just, when you're already facing a loss of revenue and you're already probably stressed out about money anyway, it's kind of like a whole learning curve that people have to tackle.
Maybe if we like, let's build upon that, because you brought up a very good point, and that's revenue. I mean, it's one thing to figure out where your audience is. Okay, I'm going to do it on Instagram, and I've set up my background and etc. But you're still not necessarily making that same cash that you would by hitting the road or playing the pub that night. So, like, what have you seen? I guess let's start with you, Laura. What have you seen from artists as ways beyond the tip jar of monetizing their online streams?
Well, so at Side Door, we pretty much push people to ticket their shows. You can do free shows on Side Door and just have a tip option, but we really push for ticketed shows. We believe that when you put value on something, that people will pay for it, especially when you make it scarce in nature. So most of our shows are through Zoom, and so that means that there's a capacity to the shows. It means that, like this, you have to register to get in, and we're all here as a group and we're sharing this experience, and that makes it it's worth something. So we actually saw, for us, our average, we were using mostly smaller alternative spaces, so anything from community halls to houses to breweries and that sort of thing. And so the average capacity for our in-person shows pre-COVID was 40, 50 people. And that was great. People were selling tickets around $16 to $20 a ticket. And now we're seeing more of an average of, 300 people in a show, and they're selling tickets for an average of around like $9. So revenues have gone up. And I would dare say that engagement is different, but it's still very much there, especially if you're doing these kinds of shows where you can see each other and talk to each other.
You bring up engagement, and that's an important point because it's a lot different from engaging with a live audience from a stage, isn't it? And depending on your platform, you might be engaging more so, like Twitch, for example, or just kind of nods off to the side. Amanda and Jesse, I'll let you both like kind of answer this. What have you found that transition like to engaging from the stage to engaging with the webcam?
To you, Jesse.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
At first, I found it really awkward, like talking to myself. And it's like I can't like be like this looking at the comments. I still have to, you know, put on a show. But it's really nice to see the comments afterwards. People are still like encouraging you, you know. But like I got used to it. It was really, it's like talking to yourself, and it's like I know you're not here, but like, you know, thanks for being here. And it's how to say, I like that people are online still sharing, you know, still engaging. But I love people. So I definitely miss being with people. I like how people are still making efforts to, you know, include you in their like life events. Like, for example, I had about like 20 weddings lined up as a wedding gigs. And unfortunately, every single one got pushed or canceled. But like one lady, she's like, can we FaceTime? She's like, and then one person made like a Facebook group, and I was live in the Facebook group. So it's nice the efforts that people are still willing to do to support the artists, because they know like this is still like a very like a major hit in terms of like money. So I'm really grateful of how people are, you know, nice and still finding a way to encourage like local artists.
Mm-hmm. What do you think that like, and like, I'm going to send it on over to you, Amanda, as well on this, like, we're now farther away from each other and we can't see each other in person, but these types of connections, these types of shows almost feel more personal. Like, do you think that is going to build further engagement from fans, like bigger fans from your fans in the future? What do you think, Amanda?
Great question. I think a couple of things that I was thinking about were just the comment about ticketed shows. I've noticed engagement to be higher or like deeper, if you will, when there's a ticket, because people come and they're just like in it with you. And so I think that would lead to higher engagement with fans, because well, we all know, like if you buy a ticket even to a live show, you're going to probably show up because you don't want to waste your money, you know, and so there's that. But I think that being able to do this during this time is very special. It could be worse, you know, we really could be completely disconnected. And being able to share, you know, like I've done a few shows on my own. I've done shows in my parents' backyard where, you know, they're sitting over there and clapping in between songs, and, you know, like it's never going to feel the exact same. But I do know that when you do go back, like Jesse said, and read the comments, there's a lot of encouragement and engagement there that feels really good. And thank goodness, because yeah, you know, but I think little things can help, you know, even hearing clapping, like I think the Zoom thing can be cool. I've never done one on Zoom, but I did a songwriter in the round circle thing for a venue in London, UK, and Madison Violet and Tara Lightfoot and I were on the gig, and they were all clapping like after songs, and it was like, it felt like a show, you know, like these little things really do help. So for anyone that's watching or here that is actually, you know, just attending concerts and checking stuff out, it really does matter when you say something, which is also true in real life, in person concerts too, you know. So I think we can continue to make fans and engage with people in a meaningful way in this context for now.
And it seems like the fans themselves are like, they're obviously going for it, right? They themselves, like we as artists are clamoring to perform and provide art. Fans want that art as well. And in this virtual space, there are some pros, right? Like you have, if you want to record your show, for example, boom, you've recorded it and now you've got content flowing out there. Laura, When people put shows together, like the online space through Side Door, are you recording those shows, or do you sort of put it to them to do so for their pass along content? How do you help them with post promotion?
So that's all up to them. The content's all theirs. And so they get to decide if they're going to record and distribute or not. We actually, because again, you're trying to put value on the ticket, so that the people in there are getting the live experience. Often what they'll do is they'll give it to the ticket holders, but not put it out to a larger audience, but they'll use clips to entice fans to come to different shows after that. And something that Dan Mangan, my co-founder, has been doing and kind of perfecting with a friend of his, who that became his host, like his moderator of his shows, is they talk to the audience as well during the show, and they actually before they show they canvas people for like stories about certain songs and that sort of thing, and they'll spotlight them. They'll get to tell their story. And honestly, you know, we're talking about the engagement and the feedback. I think those stories from the audience, like, people really need this right now. They really are just thriving from the connection they have with the artists that they love. And then, you know, what he's been doing with that is sort of taking those stories and some of those interactions and then using that for ways to entice people to come to more shows, because yeah, it's a really amazing thing to be able to talk directly to someone who you love, who you've listened to for ages. And in a lot of cases, we've been finding with online shows, and I'm sure you've been finding this too, Amanda and Jesse, is that people who couldn't attend before are attending. We've had so many families with children. We've had lots of folks who have physical disabilities who can't attend shows, there's barriers to entry. People in countries that those artists would never tour to are attending. That's an amazing feat to, like, basically look out into the room and see people from all walks of life, all geographies enjoying the show.
That's a very good point, is accessibility, right? You know, you no longer have to, you know, be of age to get to the bar, or, you know, be in Ottawa versus Toronto. Moving forward, what do you think artists like, I'll send it to you guys, Amanda and Jesse. Do you foresee kind of a mixture of shows in the future? Perhaps you'll be touring some, but also tossing in some live stream or combo shows in the future. What's the future look like?
Oh, thanks. Great question. I mean, the future. I'm just more curious. Like, I've toured so much, and one of the main concerns for me with live streaming is the geo-targeting, and like, how do you remain relevant and interesting, and like not doing the same thing over and over and over and over? Because I feel I get bored of myself. Like, I don't want to like do the same show every time, and that's the whole reason why we ever toured, is because you cannot stay in the same place and do it again and again and again. So I think that I'm very curious about, and how that will work if we stay in this way, even for like another year. I'm just saying, don't want to be depressing, but who knows? But as far as moving forward, like, the hybrid thing is really cool. You know, I think there needs to be some incentive built in, just from a business perspective. Like, why show up if you can just stay home? You know, I'm worried a little bit about that, because, you know, that was kind of already happening for live music. And so I am curious, but I do think that live streaming will now never, probably ever, disappear. And you know, it's something to really consider moving forward in real life shows as well. Yeah, for me.
You sort of on the same, I see you nodding there, Jesse. You kind of on the same page there?
Yeah, definitely. Like, for myself, like, I'm a singer songwriter mostly in the Haitian music industry. And most of my performances are like big events. Like, we bring in international artists, and we bring like 800 to 1,000 people, like in these like venues. Like, for example, like, we do it mostly at St. Anthony's Hall. So of course, with that not being possible to do anymore, it's definitely, I'm curious to see what the future will bring, because you know, like, the type of music that I do is mostly in the Haitian music industry. So that's not going to be possible to have that much people in one sitting. But there's still opportunities to learn and get creative. I wasn't used to the whole vlogging thing, but I figured it would be an opportunity for me to start doing that just so I can find a different way to connect with my audience. Because of course, like I've noticed, well, as myself, as a fan of music as well, you kind of are curious to know, like, how are you living throughout this? You know, like I know it's not always all good. So, you know, it's just being more authentic with my audience. So, and with me posting my vlog, I got really great response. I was really surprised because, like, you know, like I'm pretty boring. Like I don't really do much other than music and just work. So it was really cool that people liked that. So it's like, you know, being included into my life simply because like the shows that I used to do, like at downtown people nightclub, it's like we don't know when that's ever gonna happen again. So we turn to the internet to find, you know, to get to know our artists, and it's like they get to also, like when I'm releasing new music, I feel like it's more intimate because people are witnessing that too. So it's cool that like I had a show, it was 2 weeks ago, like I just released a new song, and like because I made, like I did a video about the meaning of the song, the audience in the comments were like, oh, I'll be like this song now because, you know, it's that XYZ. So it's really cool that the effort that I put to be present online is also being shown in the interaction of my audience whenever I do like a live show or anything like that.
It sounds like engagement is what it is. Your
Yeah,
audience is engaged
good
with you
engagement.
even further, right? And like it's Ken Sims in the audience. Anyone, any artists have experience doing live shows, but not necessarily performance, like, you know, doing cooking, for example. But you know, vlogs of your life versus music videos are different things. We're gonna have to, sorry, getting people engaged on stage is one thing, but online, people have billions and billions of choices to watch other than yourself, right? So, and I also saw another comment here about keeping people in your show and keeping them engaged during. So I'd like to hear what Amanda and Jesse have done to keep people engaged in their online shows. But I'd like to first, like, I'd poke Laura, because you've been on mute for a while. I'm going to poke you a bit. What kind of things have you seen? I assume you've seen a lot of streams at this point. What kind of things have you seen from people? Fun ways to keep people tuned in and actually tuned in to a live stream.
Yeah, I'd say, like, to echo what Amanda said, because people are buying tickets to these shows, they actually are staying the whole time, and they're turning their cameras on and they're engaging. And, you know, I would dare say that in some instances I've seen people like dress up in order to flirt with other members of the audience. I have no direct evidence that they're DMing each other, but I think it's happening. But I, you know, to Ken's point in the chat there, I think, you know, it was really interesting to see, like, early on, Christina Martin and I did a thing where it was just early days. We were just experimenting, and she did a makeup tutorial with me where she was trying to teach me how to put on makeup because I don't really wear makeup. And T. Thomason for Trans Awareness Day told his story to a private audience, but basically sent it out to just his audience as an invite through the mailing list, I believe it was. So it was like this very special, intimate content. And then on the other side, you know, like, it's not easy, I think, for everyone to be very vulnerable and personal with their engagement. But recently, the Fast Romantics did a pre-recorded show on Side Door where they basically had it up for a week and people could go, and it was a very, very well done shot of them playing in a venue where they had all these behind the scenes footage, and it was very well lit. And so it was a higher production, but less sort of like bearing their soul and that sort of thing. So I love it because people are getting really creative, and anything goes. And I don't think you have to think about, this is a stage and I have to sing and I have to do a thing and it has to look like this. I think as long as you're setting up your audience with a little bit of preparation for what this is going to look like, you can really try anything out right now. I mean, try not like keep your clothes on probably, but that's what I mean now.
Going back on mute. Oh my goodness. goodness. What about you guys in keeping engagement? Like, have you tried any fun things versus a Q&A, giveaways, anything like that?
Myself, I released a song on August 7th, and what I decided to do was make a giveaway. I would go on live a lot to engage with my audience, to talk about the giveaway, talk about the song, listening to the song. So people also, that definitely encouraged engagement with my audience. And also I also did a live stream show. It was like a podcast that I created with one of my friends, and we talked about the song but more in depth, so like the story behind the song, and then encouraging people to go listen to the song as well, which I definitely find that was really engaging, and I really appreciated that from people.
Amanda, done any fun things?
Nah, no. I think, what have I done? I've asked people what they want to hear, so I've like taken requests. I've tried to like set up the scene to be like different every time, or by a fire, or like I rented these lights from Long and McQuaid in Ottawa. Thanks, not Long and McQuaid. That's wrong. Wall Sound. Just little things. What else? Just talking to people, like just talking like this to people that I know that are there, asking questions. Yeah, I haven't done anything totally crazy yet.
Mystery crazy thing incoming, but it leads into length of show, right? If you're yik-yakking with the audience a bit more, then maybe it's gonna go on a bit more. I'm seeing some comments in the chat here. People are saying maybe shorter is more accessible, particularly if you're doing a free stream. If you're on Twitch, maybe because I like to call them longer watchers on Twitch. They do watch for a long time. What are your thoughts on it? Longer show? Are they tending to go longer, or you just kind of going with the flow and seeing what happens?
I think that it really depends on who your audience is. Like if your audience, and if you look at your like insights on all your social media, this is really dorky, but if you look at who's actually looking and they're a certain age group, you may decide to do something shorter or longer at a different time of the day. I have fans that are overseas, so I try to consider that. But I haven't personally, as for myself, really liked going over an hour of playing. I find it just like, okay, that's good. But I do think that if you're like releasing a record or doing something specific, that there's opportunity to go longer. It just really depends. Yeah.
You're not along, Jesse. Finding the same, just kind of going with the flow?
Yeah, I really like what Amanda said. I'm really big on like studying my insights, because like you really know like where your audience is located, and like for example on YouTube it tells you like what's the average time that people watch your stuff. Yeah. So I definitely I take note of all of that. I take note of like what's the time frame that people are more engaging. Like on Instagram it tells you what time people are mostly engaged on your content. So I try to like keep those factors into consideration when I'm planning my shows. And also I was gonna say, yeah, so it's like with all of that taken into consideration, it really allows you to, for me, I find like I have a better result when I really take those factors into consideration.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to add to when Amanda was talking about geogating, that's something actually we're working to release soon, where it's going to be the same thing as like when you try to watch Saturday Night Live in Canada and NBC says, nope, you can't watch it on YouTube because it's they're geogating. So that's something that we're going to work to release shortly, and basically will allow you to tour by, you can select the market that you want to have that show appear in. But there is a current workaround now that maybe some people are already doing, which is and there's an artist doing this right now inside doors. They basically put out a link to the segment of their mailing list that was from certain areas, and they said, you know, this is the show for this time zone, this is the show for this time zone, you know. And so they're doing a show in all over the world, but in different time zones, and they just sent it, the specific one, to different parts. And then they're doing some light marketing, but they mostly just sold it through the mailing list because they wanted more intimate shows. And so they're really okay with a smaller audience that are fiercely into it and charging more and keeping the cap low. So, and they tell that to the audience. They say it's going to be a low cap, there's only going to be this many in the room. And it just is a little, it means that you're playing more frequently. So it's a balancing act.
So it's not pre-recorded, it's live every time.
Yeah, it can. I mean, you could pre-record it as well. I'm a really big fan of doing it live, but I can just imagine how you kind of have to. I know there were people doing it weekly, and they found that was way too much. A monthly started to be more of the regular thing.
Cool.
We've got some fun ideas for engagement in the chat from Jeff LaRock. He said he watched a stream where someone, as they were performing, posted the lyrics of the song they were about to perform into the chat so people could follow along and feel along the emotions. He also suggested, and this was actually an interesting question, he also suggested that one of the best streams he saw was that one where the musician was just doing their thing and someone else was working the chat, kind of like a talk show producer almost. Have you guys been going at it solo, or have you sort of had someone behind the scenes helping you for each show kind of thing?
For myself, I've done by myself with my laptop. I've done where I've had my friend with their camera connect their laptops, and they had like this program they were using to like make it live so we can add like little like titles at the same time. I've had where we had to pre-record and slightly edit just because where we were, the Wi-Fi wasn't working, so we just wanted to, you know, avoid any type of technical difficulties, so we slightly edit it. I've had another, my last live stream show was where it was live. It was with, it was at the Saw Gallery, so it was an outdoor event, Ottawa Finch Festival, and they already have their live show, and they allow 25 people. That's it. So I've had a bit of different experiences regarding the whole live streaming, but definitely my preferred way is, if I guess in terms of like quality, you could say, I would prefer to have the whole camera connected to the laptop and film directly, because sometimes we aim to have like 2 different cameras just to have like different angles. I noticed that like there's a lot more engagement on Facebook, but not everybody's on Facebook. So I guess if it was up to me, I would prefer to use like YouTube, because you can share YouTube on every social platforms, versus Facebook. If you don't have an account, if you don't have Instagram, you can't really see. So yeah, but it's overall like a learning experience. You know, I never live stream shows before, so I overall it's you're always learning something new. So it's really cool. Like I don't know if this was before, but like Facebook now, like when you put live stream, it has like all these different options that you can use now, and it's really interesting to use like these gadgets and everything.
Are you flying solo when you're streaming as well, Amanda?
I've done it many ways. I mean, you know, the first one I think I ever did was just on Facebook, and then I went out and like bought this like iPhone holder, and I was doing both, and I was like trying to do everything, and it really was really stressful. And I've also done it where you know, I'm playing back here for my laptop, and then I have to like run up and like try to answer the questions, and then, so you know, I saw Sean Tavernier and Dave Ledoux do, I just said do. Anyway, they did a Silver Linings session, and I don't know if anyone here has seen that, but they were doing such a cool thing. Like they had it all set up, and then there was a friend or someone else like behind the scenes, like typing and answering questions, and like they could just play, but she had a mic so she could like talk to them. It was the coolest thing, and it just meant that the artist could sit there and play, and But for me, like my live performance is so much about engaging with the audience. So it's really hard for me to not have that aspect. It makes me feel super weird. So um, I'll always like run up to the keyboard and just see what's going on or check in for sure. So yeah.
Let's move on from engagement to let's cutting through the clutter. Let's say
I'll just add, Joel, can I just add something that we actually are matchmaking people right now with moderators and that sort of thing online if people are looking for that. It's if people are needing someone to co-host or do tech support and stuff like that. So you can help.
That's
Cool.
awesome. Wow, that's really exciting. And so like actually sort of fits into cutting through the clutter because you know, we're all able to go online. Literally everyone in the world can start a live stream tomorrow. So what we're seeing is organizations like Sidedoor helping with said promotion or team ups like, you know, a triple bill, for example. Amanda, I also saw that you have done a show through the Ottawa Library, for example, right? So that's another one, like just putting a show on. Maybe producers that wouldn't have put a show on in the past. Really cool. Are you finding that that sort of helps? I'll ask you, Laura, like, are you finding that that helps having that extra connection for promotion to be able to get it out there and actually get people interested in seeing the show?
Yeah, so we, I mean, originally when we were doing in-person shows, we always had to have a host and an artist to do the show. So our entire platform was built around matchmaking the host and the artist. So the artist would be touring, they'd be looking for where they want to go, and then we'd help them find people along the way. So that's still happening, but we're doing it with more like presenters and promoters and service providers and that sort of thing. So the matchmaking part of it, we kind of had to rip things out and then put it back in again. So it's still an evolving process, but yeah, we've been tackling when we're not doing it. We've gone back to what I call human computering, where if we don't have a thing that's happening online presently, we're actually doing it in the background where we're helping people. People are just writing in. We're trying to help them hook up. But yeah, the promotion side is still hard because you're competing with Chris Martin, who's also streaming live. But the thing is, the presenters and the promoters and the venues are also struggling, and they have huge mailing lists, and they have a marketing engine, and they have people that can help and know how to do this. And we've been really fortunate to have some promoters on the platform come on and just, you know, like they're responding to artists who are like, I want to do a show. And sometimes those are the ones, those people are the curators are the ones creating the shows. So festivals are coming on and they're running their own shows and that sort of thing. So that promotional piece is still really huge. And especially if they can reach their niche audience for the kinds of shows that they used to present in person, that still translates to online.
But it's also a different type of promotion, right? Because you're not just competing with the other shows in town, you're competing with Netflix.
Exactly. No, everything is and you're not, it's not, you know, my thing is that, and we've seen this as well, and I've been studying some like recent numbers that Nielsen's been putting out as well, that, you know, and you've heard it, like people have tired out Netflix, and TV and film production has slowed. And so we're reaching a saturation point where people are starting to like run out of options, and they're also home more. They're working from home. So there's all these behaviors and habits changing. They're more familiar with Zoom. They're more familiar with streaming. And so all of these things are actually working in favor of being able to provide a live engagement and have that as be an opportunity. So, I mean, it's just like with putting a ticket price on your show, it's, you know, sometimes artists have a hard time just thinking like, are people actually going to pay this? It's just kind of like, it's fishing right now. You're just throwing the line out there and seeing what works.
There was a question about quality, and this is important, and I think it kind of feeds back into another question I saw there about choosing the right platform. A lot of that, as you guys were talking about earlier, is like, where's your audience, right? If they're on Facebook, then that's where they are. If they're on YouTube, you know, vice versa. But it's also about the quality of the performance that you can put out. Matt has asked, acoustic versus solo / duo acoustic versus a full band. How much pump and sound can you pump through your stream and it still sounds all right? Jesse, why don't we start with you? When you're performing, are you doing it kind of solo with an instrument? Are you having a backing track? Are there more people with you, or would you want to?
So I mostly do solo. Like, I don't know if you guys can see, but like I bought like a backdrop from Amazon just to create some type of scenery in the background. So I do that. I have my guitarist that I perform a lot with. So what we did is that I went to sound check rehearsal studio. I told them that I'm doing a live stream, so they really helped me with the sound. Usually my guitarist likes to connect themselves to like an interface and into the laptop so that the audience can really hear the quality of the sound. But there was one time that was not possible. So we just made sure that our sound was good. We made sure that, I think that time we used my laptop, and I made sure that, I think like with Facebook, you can make like a sound check thing just to make sure that it sounds good. The audience said it sounded good too. So I definitely like the duo setup more. So with my guitars, because it's more acoustic. I always like performing with musicians. That's like my favorite thing to do in the world. So I definitely preferred performing an acoustic versus just doing backdrop, because I don't like performing backdrop. You know, I don't sometimes have no choice, but I just find like not backdrop, sorry, backing track. I find like it's just boring. I find that music is more intimate when shared with people and with instruments and everything. So yeah, so it all depends, you know. Music is what feelings are. So it's like how you feel, you just go ahead and you do it. You find different ways to create your own space, because at the end of the day, live streaming, there's no specific way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's your opportunity to express yourself regardless, you know, and it's I like to just do it and then go back on it and see what I did, what can I do better, if there's any opportunities and whatnot. So it's always like a learning experience for me. And I know that most people like to do live streams on Facebook, I guess because that's like where the most users are and everything. And I feel like Facebook also like offers more options like to help you with the live streams, because they have like those advanced options to make it like a better experience for you as well.
You're nodding a lot there, Amanda. You said you were mostly solo, but you're echoing a lot of Jesse's sentiments there?
Yeah, I also, for sure, I think that number one, like for anyone that's doing live streaming, it is stressful to do this in a new way on your own. Like if you're just at home and you're like, how the hell do I do this? You have to build in time to like figure that out. So if you're going to do a show with a band, like that's a whole other thing. And so then just sitting here, like I bought a duet, like I bought I bought a few things that have made things easier for me and sound better. But I really liked, what Laura said about live venues and presenters and all these people, like they're struggling too. And if I'm going to do a live band show, or full band show, I'm going to do it at a venue for sure. Like I just did a singer-songwriter series for Fembox, this GCTC, and it was at Irene's. There was no audience, but the live stream people came in and did their thing, and they worked with the sound guy from Irene's who knows what he's doing and sends a proper signal. And like, it's actually a really beautiful thing because everyone's working together and you're kind of promoting everyone, you know, because we need the venues too. So I think both are really cool. Again, it depends what you're presenting. Like if I just wrote a brand new song and I wanted to share it, I'd probably just sing into my laptop or something. But to, do something different, I've done a lot of duos and solo things, and I'm hoping to do a band thing in October, then I'll go and do that in a different way. But the sound quality thing definitely has to be taken like a lot more seriously when you're doing full band, and never use a drummer, like especially Matt Saab.
Throwing shade to the audience. That's nice.
Yeah, you have to really think about your audio when you're doing the full band, I would say.
But that's an interesting point though, because like you partner, I guess it would be like you partner now with a venue, you go in, they've got people and eyes on their content, you've got high quality content,
Yeah.
out she goes. Laura, when people are ticketing a lot more of these shows, and to get of the highest quality, we've seen a couple of like, well, actually, I've seen a lot of examples of pre-recorded um, videos, right? So then you can, make sure everything's perfect before it actually goes out, but you miss out on that live appeal. Can you see ticketed pre-recorded events happen if it happens to be of like promised quality?
Yeah, I mean we've seen that happening, and like what I was saying with the Fast Romantics example, it was just really well done. Um, and I think what we're trying to work towards, it's really interesting because people are just doing whatever they can. So we're watching how people are using the platform, and then we're adapting in some cases to them. So now we're sort of trying to catch up to that so that the audience knows what they're doing. So like when you're buying a ticket, they're going to know this is going to be a pre-recorded thing, but I'm cool with that. And I'm, still going to buy a ticket. So I think as long as, again, as if you're giving the audience some expectations of what they can see and how they're going to engage, I think that's a really important thing. But yeah, I've seen some really beautiful things happen with venues, especially, and really incredible hybrid shows where, especially now where if the venue is letting some people in, they're usually only operating at 20 or 30% capacity. So they'll sell those tickets out right away. And then they're selling additional online tickets, like Tim Baker just did 2 nights in a row in St. John's, where they had a merch fair and they played at the merch fair, and they actually had the audience of the Zoom show also projected on the wall. So they felt like they weren't playing to 2 audiences. They tried to like incorporate it, which is always a bit of a weird thing when you have a hybrid show. It's like, which audience am I playing to? So it's really good when you can kind of merge the 2 worlds.
You said merch, and I know it's not in regards, it was a merch show, but are we seeing acts selling merch online while the stream is going on? Because I mean, it's doable, right? Like click here, buy a t-shirt type thing. You see more incorporation of that?
Yeah, we have this, well, when we had Steven from the Bare Naked Ladies doing shows, he started a whole t-shirt line that was just about his live streams. So people are doing like show specific merch, I guess now. But yeah, I think I always remember this one report that came out in like 2015. And it was like $2.3 billion is left on the table by artists because they're just not giving audience enough ways to spend money on them, because there's just no ways to, people want the music and they want the streaming and they want the thing, but they'll still spend the money if you give them an opportunity. And it's true, people will spend money on the craziest things if you give them a way to do it.
We're all going to have band mugs in the future. Oh, my goodness gracious. That's fun. Like I wanted to ask this question as well regarding royalties. So now we won't get too deep into royalties, but specifically to Side Door, your site says we pay out performing rights orgs like ASCAP, BMA, SOCAN on your behalf. Work alone or split revenue right at the point of sale with online presenters who can help you sell more tickets. Are tickets mostly purchased from people in North America, and how do you deal with international sales? What are some struggles you found in regards to royalties? Oh, you're backing up already.
We're doing another panel next week about this. Byron's on the call with that, and I right away was like, this is by no means totally sorted out. It's right now a different license than we were using for our in-person live performances, is the media license. And so we're paying it out. It's 2.99% for SOCAN. But that is for Canadian artists to Canadian viewers. So now we have to know where the viewers are and get that percentage and then pay out according to that. So, and every other jurisdiction, we're still in talks with how to roll that out, because they just haven't, there's nobody else sort of doing what we're doing, where we're taking platforms that aren't intended for this, and then trying to do what's right and collect the royalties and then remit them. They're like, well, we've done a deal with YouTube, and you know, but so we're just sort of like collecting and then trying to figure out you know, how the correct way to remit. But yeah, every show you should be able to collect royalties if it's your performance, if it's your music. So it's not totally sorted, but like we were talking about before the panel started, it's on its way there. It's just trying to catch up.
Yeah, because it gets complicated, right? Like someone might be using a VPN and like it says they're in the UK, but maybe they are in Canada. But I guess partnering or playing with, playing at Irene's, for example, as you were saying, Amanda, which is then also simulcast on the online, that would get you around and get you some SoCan money. Oh my goodness, we're coming up to the end. We have talked so much, my friends, so much. And we're gonna have more Q&A after, you know, for as long as we want to keep talking about it. But this was a question put forth by the organizers and myself going through some questions. I'm going to ask it of all three of you in succession. I'm going to pick on you first, Jesse. What key advice would you give other entrepreneurs and business owners about adapting to this change?
Definitely, how to say, trust yourself, be confident in your craft. Don't hold back. Whatever you don't know, YouTube knows. I've learned a lot. So definitely YouTube is your best friend. That's my advice.
YouTube best friend. What about you, Amanda? Good advice for those listening in?
Yeah, that was really good advice. Just for me, and I still struggle with this, but just being as authentic as possible. You know, this is an unprecedented time. It's a super weird. I mean, maybe not going into the most depressive thoughts, but just being real, you know, about what's happening for you as an artist and what you're having a hard time with even if it's about the gear, anything like that is one piece of advice for sure. And I guess another takeaway is just look at your insights on your social media and see where your people are, you know, and it's the same as if it's this, a lot of the same rules apply. Like smaller shows to a more engaged audience is super awesome. You know, it doesn't matter if you have 2 million views on your thing. If no one's talking to you or talking to each other, it's like, I don't know. So I think about it in the same way as I do before, you know, pre-COVID. Just play to your people.
God, I want that on a t-shirt. Laura, what is from the show producer side, let's say, what's some advice you would toss out to people?
Gosh, I love when people are able to be vulnerable with their audience. I've seen just amazing connections happen. Like, you know, I've cried so much at these shows. It's been really remarkable, and that, and also I can see that audiences are coming back over and over and over again when it's good and deep engagement. So I would really strive for that, to, you know, strive for that connection. And it's so, like I say, I think, you know, in any time in history that we've had struggle, art is what gets us through. So it's really important to value that as an artist, to really, you know, like, know you're doing an amazing thing. Like we did a show for a whole bunch of patients at a children's hospital who were separated from their parents, and then the parents and the kids were watching together. And just watching them together watch the show was just like the most heartwarming thing. And we just got such crazy feedback from that. Just know that you're doing amazing good work in the world right now, and it's worth doing.
That was really nice. Oh, it was good. It was good. Because we all need love right now, my friends, and winter is coming. Winter is coming. Thanks so much for joining us. We are coming up on 8:30. We do have time for some more questions up until how sleepy we all get. Byron, maybe quickly, like I'm seeing a lot of discussion about what Encore is. Maybe you want to give people a brief what that's all about. He has provided a link as well.
Sure. I'm just opening up a PowerPoint slide from a session a few hours ago about this stuff. It's a relief program, like it's a COVID relief program. It's not like a long-term, well, depends how long COVID lasts, but it lasts until about, I think it's March 2021. There's $200,000 a quarter approximately that's paid out to the writers and publishers of compositions that are performed in online performances for which people apply for this program. The elements of it are there has to be at least, well, first off, it's on Facebook or Instagram. It's at least 10 songs that are performed live or a live performance of at least 30 minutes from March 15th, 2020 to March 7th, 2021. At least 100 people must have attended the live concert while it was happening. A set list needs to be provided, and the claim must be made within 90 days. And each online concert that meets those criteria is eligible for a total payment of $150. And as Matt and Lynn were referring to in the chat there, if you're a singer-songwriter who's written all of your songs and there's no co-writers and no producers who have a share of the performance rights royalties and no publishers involved, if you alone get 100% of the money every time there's money paid out from SOCAN, then you alone would get that $150. Yeah, that's a quick summary of it.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. Amanda, you have a question, an answer? Let's hear it.
I have a question, Byron. You're also right there, so it's like
you're right over here. So
ready? Do you know how they ask you to prove that 100 people watched while it was happening? Because I mean, I could find out, and yeah, I've been meaning to write a long blog about performance rights and reproduction royalties with online concerts, and it's just been kind of on the back burner, but I'll make sure to include that in there. I would imagine that, like with anything else, like, I mean, SOCAN deals with people sending in set lists and, you know, different ways of confirming that shows happened and songs were performed. So, you know, they've probably seen every possible way that people have demonstrated that an event happened and they perform certain songs. So, right.
You know, I imagine if you took a screenshot and it said, you know, whatever number were there, the challenge is that people come and go, right? So I imagine there's some, whatever the Facebook analytics say that would indicate that 100 different people were there. That would probably be fine, but, you know, I don't speak on behalf of SOCAN or anybody, but I'll find out, let you know. And if anyone has questions about SOCAN stuff, onlineconcerts@socan.com is the email to contact, onlineconcerts@socan.com. I don't know why they don't do .ca.
Serious. Matt is saying here he had to submit a screenshot of the Facebook page that shows.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Sorry, online concerts, not concerts. Online concerts at SOCAN.com.
I think we're going to start seeing demands from artists for more of those stats. Because quite frankly, if I found out I had a bunch of fans in, I don't know, somewhere not here, I'd want to go do a show there in the future, for example. You know. Friends, we do have time for more questions. Looks like they're most interested in yours, Byron. So clearly we really know what we're talking about when it comes to live streaming. Jesse, Amanda, and Laura. Is there anything that any of you guys have going on that we need to know about, releases, upcoming shows? Jesse, you got anything going on?
I just shared it in the chat. I have my song that I just released, and I'm first time talking about it. I'm releasing another song in 2 weeks. So definitely follow me on social medias. I noticed people are talking about YouTube. Put your links, you know, I'm also at 1,000 subscribers, so let's support each other. I'll go subscribe to you guys, subscribe to mine. And yeah, so I think I'm planning to do a bit more shows. I'm focused right now with the pandemic. Like I'm focusing more on creating more music and more music videos. So just to have more stuff to share online. So stay tuned to that. So follow me on social media. Thank you.
Beauty. Amanda?
Yeah, I'm actually playing at Queen Street Fair on Thursday
Cool.
to real people, I think, whoever ends up showing up. Yeah, so that'll be cool. I don't think it's being live streamed, so that doesn't really go with the channel, but I know that I'm going to, what was that? I know that I'm going to play a show in October with the band that will be live streamed. I just can't say any more about it just yet, but that'll be happening. And what else? I think that's it. Yeah.
Cool. Laura, anything particularly exciting at Side Door?
Yeah, with lots of shows coming up. People generally still stick to the weekend thing, but there are shows during the week. But you can go to our shows page. There's no barrier to sign up and create a show at all. Our whole thing is that we take 10% of the ticket sales. So if you make a little bit, we make a little bit too, but it's never any barrier to entry, and we don't gatekeep who gets to make shows. We're basically here to help you do great. So you can do that.
I had a really great time here, guys. We're giving each other big finger hearts, big finger hearts. Thank you so much, Amanda, Jesse, and Laura. Great panelists, great discussion.
A quick shout out.
And we're clapping. Wait,
can I give a quick shout out? We have 2 people here that just recently won some awards. Joel, you would know. But Folk Music Ontario had their annual awards. We have Chris McCool. He was here. I think I saw him still. He won 2 for songs of...
Songs from the Heart.
Yes, political and instrumental. And Lynn won Songs from the Heart Blues. I just want to say congratulations, and I think it's really important. I love how everyone shared what's coming up for them, and tag us in OMIC so that we know what's going on and we can share where possible. And I'm trying to make it out to live shows. And Matt, you were my first live show in 7 months, and that was awesome.
Cool. Byron, I'll leave it to you to tell everyone when the next IMB is.
Kareem, do you want to jump into that so you can have a...
Oh yeah, moment in the spotlight. Thank you.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, so yes, our next IMB will be about Twitch streaming. We've got Danielle Allard and Alana Sterling confirmed. It is going to be held mid-October, date to be announced soon. And we're very excited. And if you enjoyed this IMB session, please come to the next one. It's going to be another great time. Thank you for everyone that came. Honestly, this has been amazing.
Thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you, Joel.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Stay safe.
Bye. Who's going to be last?
It's you and me, Amanda. Just you and me.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Take care.
Yeah.
You hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. See you, Byron.
Have a good night, Matt.
You too.